Alrighty. This is group 6 for our course and our data conversation. I am Morgan Kingray, and just to give context to our discussion, I had shadowing with our assistant principal as well as our literacy coach and K5 full data review. Brooke?
I am Brooke Shively, and I shadowed our instructional coach in an Algebra 1 EOC data talk, as well as one-on-one for data protocol.
How you doing? I'm LaShawn Dixon. I had the opportunity to shadow our instructional coach. In science, we were looking at our data for EOC class, which is our biology.
And
I'm
Sarah.
Sarah Joyner, and I shadowed the principal as well as our literacy coach, and we use multiple data sources and in multiple settings. Like one was in collaborative planning with all the teachers, and one was more of a sit down and looking at some things.
Sounds good. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first discussion prompt. Our prompt is, how did the leader's use of data align with best practices?
Yeah, so I can kind of start off on that. At our school, we kind of, when I was watching my instructional coach, we used the relay model. In the relay approach, it's like data informed instruction. So we're looking at data via the platforms that we have through Mastery Connect. At that time, teachers sit down. Teachers are required to bring in samples of student work. Teachers are also required to make sure that their data is updated and uploaded on a platform. And then in that time, we have a discussion where the teachers start off the lesson talking about best practices, doing a thing called a know and show chart. What a know and show chart is our teachers looking at the actual standard of record, going through what it is the students need to know, and then how are they showing what they know. From there, teachers then look at the actual common formative assessment and seeing, does that common formative assessment align with the know and show chart? Then from there, we take a deeper dive and looking at the types of mistakes that students are making, what are common mistakes students are making, looking at that and seeing that, did we do that know and show chart the correct way to where we're not having students making those same mistakes. We're looking at student work and kind of comparing the student work to the actual assessment that was given.
I really appreciate, it seems like in your meeting, because I was also in an EOC high school setting and a data talk. I feel like your meeting has a lot of norms, and the expectation for teachers and the data talk is very clear. Whereas in our meeting, I felt like the instructional coach was really prepared, and she had already analyzed the data to bring to us to discuss what were our most missed standards. But I really appreciate how your situation is more teacher centered, as opposed to my situation was a little different. In terms of best practices from my instructional coach, I think she was prepared. She knew the data, she had analyzed it, and she knew what we needed to improve on as teachers and what the teachers in the meeting needed to improve on. So she was really prepared, but I think I really appreciate from your experience, it seems like the way in which the meeting is planned or designed, your teachers knew what to expect in that talk as well. There's a process for analyzing that data, whereas in my meeting, it's kind of oh, well, we'll do warm-ups, things like that. So I think it sounds like y'all are doing really good work, and who you observed is implementing good norms for success.
Yes. And just to piggyback off what you're saying, that's very true. I can't say that this is, I want to say year 3 for us using this framework. So year 1, we were kind of like how I was at your school. Teachers weren't prepared and it was all left on the instructional coach. But instructional coach told me that she was like, hey, I need to start holding my teachers accountable. If I'm doing all of the work, how are they growing? So somewhere between this now and year 3, they figured that out. So when they do come to those meetings, they're all prepared.
Did you say it's the relay model?
Yeah, relay. Yeah, it's a relay model where it's a see it, name it, do it protocol. It's an actual protocol, and it actually goes through everything that the teacher would need to bring, everything the coach needs to bring. It's type of questioning when you have a issue, the type of like kind of like an approach on how to reteach. So if you looking at the data and it shows that the bulk of the kids are struggling, then that's a reteach. So I got to reteach that entire standard by recreating a new know and show chart. But if I'm looking at the data and I see that it's spotty where it's kids that's having misconceptions, but that is not the bulk, then you try to do a reteach approach using a think aloud. So it varies based off of what the data shows.
I'm glad I heard your story because what my school is doing, it reminds me so much of you, LaShawn. But it's our second year. I never knew. I'm thinking we may do the relay model, but I've never heard it. But I'll have to ask now. So last year was more of what Ashley School's doing. This year, it's been very productive as the whole year. So there's several meetings where we analyze the data and we meet every week collaboratively with the elite principal and with our academic coach, the whole first grade team, each team in the school, and we'll bring actual sample, whatever the biggest assessment we bring those pieces, and we've already filled in a chart, like a spreadsheet about how the students did. So we have an overall picture of the grade level, and then it's turned around on us. Like say if it's a specific assessment, like math unit 1 assessment that focused on certain skills, then we have to come up together collaboratively with ways to improve those certain. So it's not even just a standard. It's like, yeah, it's every little standards. So we have those ideas to share. And then on a bigger picture, when we analyze our broad data, like our benchmark, beginning of the year benchmark, we set goals as a team of the improvements and how to make those and get real specific. So it's turned around on us, and I like that model because you have, your hand in it too. And we use the DIBELS assessments, already assessments. And a big thing I'll talk about in a minute is on the next prompt will be attendance. We've really focused on that this year. So I like that. That's been a lot for our school. And I don't know if attendance is an issue with you all, but we're Title I, and we have a lot of low performing students. So we need to get them here, get them here. So then we can, because it's already struggles sometimes at Title I and lower performing students. So it's already a struggle. So let's get them here first. But yes, so thank you for teaching me the relay model. I'm going to find out.
I know too. Ours is a little bit different where it was a process that we created ourselves at school we're an IB school. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the primary years program as an IB school, but the action cycle, we take that and we pushed it in as our data protocol. So we have a protocol. I think it is helpful. I like that we, as a best practice, use multiple data sources.
Yes.
So we were making a continuous, my assistant principal with admin looking through for our continuous improvement plan and taking in all these different sources of data, like looking at attendance data, looking at what our math achievement data is, looking at what our literacy data is, and being able to see the full data picture. I thought that was super helpful as a best practice. And part of that also when our assistant principal and our principal were going through to create the goals, they were almost doing like a root analysis of like, well, why is this? And like continuously tried to dive deeper to kind of identify what are those pain points? What do we really need to address? I'm not sure if you all do that, but I do like, I thought multiple data sources was really beneficial.
Did you observe, Morgan, like, that was like in, I guess, like the protocol for administrators and the instructional coach? Is that like discussed along with teachers, or is that more separate?
So they take what we do in our continuous improvement plan and it's shared with the staff, and we have grade level chairs who are able to review the plan and give feedback. In terms of our data protocol, that's what we use with our teams.
Okay.
So the same action cycle, that's exactly what we use as well with the teams. That's what I see with our literacy coach. So when we're talking about, especially what I observed with our map data, that was a big analysis. So let's go ahead and look at prompt 2, which is what surprised you about the decision-making process as we were shadowing?
I think as I shadowed, what surprised me most when observing the data talk with the instructional coach and like the teacher team, the instructional coach did not necessarily come with a plan. She really wanted the teachers to drive that conversation to create the plan of action. And then on the back end, when I shadowed her one-on-one and kind of watched her protocol, the district does require a plan to be submitted because it was an EOC course. And so I asked, I was like, she was like, I take the conversation I have in the data protocol meeting, and then I make that conversation what the district needs to see. So I was kind of surprised by that, even as like a teacher observing, not really knowing what the district wants, which to me, I am like, I think I appreciate vulnerability and honesty and a little more like directness. And so just like at least having an idea of what maybe the district wants would help me better understand like decisions for the data talk.
It's like the why behind.
Yes.
It's always good why.
Yes. Because I think a lot of times too, when we sit in those conversations, we don't necessarily have a protocol in place, which we had got a new principal in January, and the instructional coach came from her school in August. So I think there's a lot of transition happening. But sometimes it does just feel like checking a box, and who are we checking the box for? Our students, for us, for the principal. So yeah, I was surprised, but I also appreciated her allowing us to have the conversation as teachers, and the teachers in the meeting having that conversation, as opposed to her just like dictating, this is what you're going to do to meet the district's requirements.
Yeah.
And I can say what kind of surprised me in my observation when I was shadowing my instructional coach was just how she played more of a facilitator role, where in the past I've seen like coaches go in and they're doing all of the talking. They're doing all the learning. We're just sitting, getting, and then leaving with nothing. She kind of guided it, asked those questions to spark that conversation amongst the other teachers, and it was kind of led by no one in a sense. It was just them following that protocol and just her asking those questions to spark that conversation. So that was surprising to me. I thought I was gonna go into a setting where it was going to be led by the instructional coach and she was going to be doing the bulk of the talking and they was just going to do a lot of sitting, getting, but that wasn't the case. So that was surprising.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah, that's the same thing I was going to say. Going from last year, like I mentioned, where it was more just led, to this year, just the tables have turned. And when the data's laid out for us, simply they just showed us the data. Here's what we see, it's in front of us. And we did it. I felt like we had ownership, and there's a lot of strong teachers and teachers still learning, but together as a team, we complement each other and we got it done, and we got our goals set, our action plan, and next steps and how it works, and it also just gives you a self-value and know that we can do this, and it lets you practice. So when I'm in my room analyzing my data alone, I know that, what I should do next. And we're also focusing on attendance. I wanted to bring this up because it was really eye-opening, not just looking at data or seeing numbers, linking it to student achievement and performance. The students, my lowest scoring students were students that have missed the most days. And I'm talking some 10 and more. One little girl has been absent. I forgot the absent number, maybe 6 or 7, but the tardy number's 30. And I do small reading group. That's the most critical time of that day. We start the minute the bell rings, my small group instruction. It can't be changed because of our scheduling. And most of the day she comes in after. So 35, and we've been in school 50, I don't really know, but almost every day, of that. So it was really interesting to link the attendance data to the performance. So now we have a protocol we're doing for that. The first year we've done it to where every day you do your attendance and you text every parent, every child's parent that's not here. Now it is hard when I'm starting groups so early, but I've even communicated with some that were hearing from me every day why I'm doing this, and I need them to please reach out to me first, and they do, especially that little girl I was talking about. So we text if it's 4 kids, check it on them, and they hopefully respond quickly so I can put it in Infinite Campus. And then there's another attendance team. Somebody goes behind me at 9 or 9:30 and does another phone call or calls them. And it's getting the kids there. It's improving because our attendance rate was tough, like compared to last year's compared to the state of Georgia. It was low. So I mean that's kind of neat. I like that we're doing that because all it's going to improve achievements. And
Yeah, I think it's great anytime we can look at data and do it as a team, and to be able to find trends within things so that you can make those
right.
actually an action type item to hopefully impact. I mean, it sounds like, Sarah, that's a great
That's a good
thing to move forward. We're also focusing, so we have a whole child team. I don't know if you all have those at your schools, but we look at attendance as part of that. That's not what I'm excited about though. So I think the most thing surprising to me that along with having a facilitator that truly was facilitating, and you're really just trying to look at the data and kind of come to an understanding together as a team, I enjoyed seeing how in depth the conversations could go to. And it wasn't just like, oh, it's an overall viewpoint, but really trying to key in and narrow, almost like, I guess, again, Sarah, how your team is going in and being able to pinpoint specific students. I think that's super powerful.
I know, I agree.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move to prompt 3, which is based off of who we shadowed. How would we approach a similar situation as a future leader?
Well, as far as me, I've learned a lot this year in this experience, and I would absolutely love to do a similar approach as far as the team, letting the teachers help with what's going on. And using the multiple data sources. We as well use multiple data sources. Last year, or many years in a row, our main reading data was only from DIBELS assessment. And I like parts of it, but it can only assess certain areas and zero comprehension. So now we pulled in the iReady, just as another data point. So I like using the multiple areas of data, and I like the attendance focus. Yeah, so I really like the collaboration also that's going on. So I hope to do that as a future leader.
Yeah, triangulation is always great with data. So I liked how, for mine, how we took the data and we used them to make SMART goals for our school. And then we took the SMART goals, and then that was like what all teams we all have to move toward as a school goal. But I thought that was cool how they did that. But I agree, the triangulation, seeing all the data.
We use SMART goals too.
Yeah. What about others, things that you guys would want to do as future leaders?
I would most definitely kind of like follow that model. So I would want to have like some type of script already outlined. Probably want to practice with somebody that I trust. So then when I get in there in front of my peers, I know what I'm doing. I don't appear to seem like I'm all over the place and direct to the point. So that's something I would definitely take into consideration, just opportunity to practice the actual script that's used. So when I do go in there, I can flow.
Absolutely. I agree. Like from my experience, I think having a new instructional coach this year, it's nice to have 2 different experiences with 2 different instructional coaches. And with the current one, it was like the conversation was facilitated and it was very growth mindset. And as opposed to, I think in my past experience, it was like we were in trouble because of the data we produced. And this situation, it was like data and growth is a part of the process. And looking at the data from that approach, I think is a lot less stressful for the teachers. And so like listening to y'all's experiences and, you know, having like the data protocols, I think I learned a lot from that. You know, I think that it is about growth. And it's not about like being in trouble. I think there's been kind of a culture of being in trouble in the district I'm in. Like, do this, do well, otherwise you'll be in trouble. And we're professionals and we're all working hard. Like, we all need to grow. Like, that is what education is. It's about learning and growth and looking at how we need to grow as a part of the process. It's not because you're not doing good enough. It's just because that's how we get better. And I do think our instructional coach has that mindset. Like, she's not here to get us in trouble. She wants us to get better because that's her responsibility. And so I think as I am learning, you know, I want to take that. And even if I'm getting pressure from other places, like when I had my one-on-one shadowing experience, she talked about that, like, her pressures aren't to be put on the teachers. You know, she can take whatever, she needs to filter that. And then her job is to take and filter that information. And sometimes share that with teachers, but also like she wants to take that pressure on so her teachers can just look at what they need to and get better. So I appreciated that a lot from her.
Yeah, that makes me think of like having a safe space. Like, we want to, as teachers and educators, be a safe space for our kids, but our leaders in the building to also be a safe space to our teachers, especially as all the student data that teachers bring forth to have that. It brings up also for me thinking about how it's almost like it's like comfort with discomfort. So at times it was like you're pausing and you'd see like people looking at their data, but allowing that to happen and not feel like somebody has to keep talking to keep the conversation, but it was because people were digesting. I think it was nice to have that.
I was thinking, as y'all were talking, it reminded me too, like this year I've seen such a difference with the looking at the data, analyzing whatever with the data is guiding our instruction and helping us pick interventions needed, but also we've had PDs already this year reflective on what we've just done collaboratively and what we need, whereas sometimes you're in PDs, I'm not quite sure why we're doing it, or it's maybe just, I feel like it's just because we have to. It's completely different. Like, as we're going through the year and progressing, the next PD may be about something and we have PDs on Thursdays, and that's good because I know that everything we're doing is meaningful, you know.
Yeah, we're doing the same, honestly. Where we've looked at the data, and ELA data is a little bit stagnant. So our coach has done a great job pulling in things for like writing, the areas that the teachers want to.
That's right. And they'll ask us, what do we need? They'll also send out forms. We'll get forms periodically, which is both our literacy coach and our principal, which is nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Alrighty, y'all. Well, thank you for participating in our group discussion. It was great to learn from everyone and our data and our shadowing experiences.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.